Hello and welcome to Cooking the Books with Heather. As you may be able to tell, I'm still a little bit sick. It is New Year's Eve. And as I've said before on this channel, we usually like to have some snacks around midnight. And today, for that, we are going to be having I Wish I Was a Cheese Baller from Vivian Howard's This Will Make It Taste Good. Now, this is going to use two recipes we've made before. One recently, we made the sweet potential. Ours is apple, but you can use whatever in this recipe. Apparently, talking is not great for me right now. Anyway, so we're using the sweet potential. We are also going to be using salt and butter roasted pecans. I think that's what it's called. I'll link them both up here when I talk about them. There is in the recipe, it calls for either raw pecans, roughly chopped. So I've roughly chopped the ones that we've already roasted, or these nuts, which is in here, which are a lot like the spicy ones. I think Viv's Addiction is what she called them in the other book. I'll link that up here too, because we have made it. But I'm not using that for this recipe. I'm just going to use the salt and butter roasted one. There is, like I said, a method to do that in this book, so you don't have to refer to the other book. Anyway, they're basically exactly the same thing. So those are things that we're using already. We are not going to be using a mixer or a blender or anything with this. I've just got a bowl and a sturdy spoon. This is going to help me get everything out of my other bowls. So what I'm going to start with is the sweet potential, which I have already measured. Like I said, ours is apple. And the cheeses, since, I wish I was a cheese baller. There's lots of cheese in here. It's all supposed to be at room temperature. So mine have been sitting out for quite a while. So they should all be at room temperature. This is hot sauce. I'm using Frank's because that's what I generally have on hand right now, and I like it. The next thing, this is goat cheese. So interestingly enough, I'm sure you guys have heard me say it before, my husband does not like goat cheese, but he does like blue cheese. So I'll be interested to see if those sort of cancel each other out in this recipe. And now I have some cream cheese, which is usually the base of most cheese balls. This is not going to be a cheese ball. In fact, we are going to bake this. So this is going to be a cheese dip. So I guess that's why it wishes it was a cheese ball, but it's a dip. So this is a warm cheese ball, basically. If I was smart, I would have taken this out of the package when it was still cold and just let it thaw and let it warm up in my bowl, but oh well. Never said I was always smart. There we go. And then the only other thing I have to add here is some scallions, some sliced green onions, the green parts only. It's hard to tell when it's green and when it's white because it kind of gradually changes. Whatever. So, and we need some salt. And that is it for this. But now I'm going to try to mix this up. She says it does not matter if you have some chunks of blue cheese in there, but that is the sort of hardest cheese in this mixture. I used a mild blue cheese, but I'm going to try and mix it up as well as I can. It is a not super appetizing color. I don't know how hers is very orange when mine is not, but maybe it was because it looks like she used strawberry sweet potential, so maybe that's what gave it the orange color. Because mine is sort of a little bit orange, but mostly kind of gray. But you know, that's where the toppings are gonna come in handy. Because we're not going to put the pecans in the mix. We are going to bake it first and then top it with pecans and some parsley, which I don't have here, but which I will be chopping up and putting on top just for mostly prettiness. I think that's optional. So she says, yes, the chopped fresh parsley is optional, but I will be using it just to make it look a little bit nicer. So mine is kind of lumpy, but that's okay because we're going to bake it. Let me move some stuff out of the way here. So now I have this small dish. She says to use an 8 by 12 inch baking dish. This is probably, I think it's a 9 by 5, whatever. But this is not an awful lot of stuff, and I really didn't want it too thin. So that's what we're going to put this in. And you'll probably notice that my, well, besides the fact that my kitchen is a mess, my oven is not preheated because we're not going to be baking this immediately. I'm going to leave this just out. All the cheeses were already out in room temperature. So I'm just going to leave this out, and then about 20 minutes before we want to serve this, I'm going to put it in the oven at 400 degrees. So I'll probably, about 30 minutes before we want to eat it, I will turn on the oven at 400 and we'll bake it for about 20 minutes at 400 degrees. And when it comes out, we will top it with the pecans and serve it with butter crackers, basically Ritz, which I have plenty of, and that will be it. So we will show you what it looks like when it comes out of the oven and let you know what we think in just a minute. On this episode of Cooking the Books with Heather, you watched me make I Wish I Was a Cheese Baller from Vivian Howard's This Will Make It Taste Good. And this used the sweet potential that we made previously in this book. And so we had that last night. I think that it was really good. We enjoyed it. But if you don't like blue cheese, you will not like this. The blue cheese flavor was the predominant flavor. It had a little bit of sweetness, like I said, from the sweet potential, but it was very blue cheesy. My husband couldn't tell that there was goat cheese in it, and that is a feat. I'm telling you, he can tell all the time. Like, I don't think there's any other recipe that I've had that had goat cheese in it where he could not tell at all. So, I think there were way too many chopped pecans required for this recipe, or at least in the ingredient list, but that's okay because they're great to eat separately. I mean, unless you really want to completely cover the whole top of the dish with it, you don't need that many pecans. It does tell you how to make those. We didn't do that, like I said, but they're delicious all by themselves. I do think with the sweetness in this dip, the spicier nuts like the Viv's Addiction or the V's nuts that are also in this book that we haven't made yet would be a good addition. So really easy. You don't even need a mixer, and all you have to do is mix everything up and put it in the oven. So this is a great little cheese dip. I'll probably be making it again. If you enjoyed watching me make this, give me a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, and come back and watch me make something else next week.